The air shimmers with an unspoken tension, almost imperceptible. You felt it before, that faint tremor just beneath the surface of what you call real. A suspicion that what your eyes show you isn't the full story, that the world is far more pliable than it appears. This feeling, this persistent whisper, isn't paranoia, it's recognition. The solidity you hold so dear, the concrete certainty of your surroundings, is the ultimate illusion. It's the first, most fundamental agreement you made to anchor yourself in this particular stretch of experience. Every object, every person, every moment you've witnessed has a hidden nature, a fluid impermanence designed to deceive. And real quick, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more videos. Now let's keep going. You touch a wall, it feels solid. You drive a car, it has weight and mass. But these are filtered interpretations, not raw truth. Your mind translates a field of probabilities into a fixed state, a continuous stream of data into a singular, undeniable form. This isn't about tricking your senses, it's about understanding their profound filtering capacity. Your perceived reality isn't an objective fact. It is a carefully constructed projection held in place by forces you've largely ignored. The world you navigate is not out there waiting to be discovered. It is being continuously rendered, moment by moment, by an invisible mechanism that reacts to your slightest shift. Your repeated failures were never accidents, they were echoes of an old identity still rendering. But what happens when that identity finally collapses? Next, we face the truth of the observer cut. The observer cut is not some abstract theory, but a daily, visceral experience you've lived untold times. It's the point where potential becomes a particle, where infinite futures snap into one singular present. Think of every time you've been about to make a decision, a choice hanging in the air, and then, without conscious effort, one path solidified. That solidification, that sudden undeniable reality, is the observer cut in action. Your attention, your intention, acts as the scalpel, carving out a specific experience from a swirling chaos of quantum possibilities. It's why some situations feel inevitable, why certain outcomes seem destined. You weren't merely choosing, you were collapsing the field. The subtle direction of your awareness, even when you weren't fully conscious of it, drew a line in the sand of probability. The moments of what if evaporate, leaving only the what is. This isn't about mystical power, it's a fundamental mechanic of reality's rendering engine. You are not a passive audience member in your life's narrative. You are the projector, and your beam of attention dictates the film. But what if you've been projecting the same film, unaware that you hold the power to change the reels? This persistent rendering of particular outcomes brings us to the very source of how your world takes form. The identity feed. The identity feed is the continuous broadcast of who you believe yourself to be. It's not just a collection of memories or preferences, it's a dynamic, energetic signature, a consistent signal telling the universe what to render. Every thought, every emotional resonance, every deeply held belief about yourself coalesces into this feed. If you consistently see yourself as struggling, the identity feed broadcasts that frequency. Result. Reality responds by manifesting more scenes that reflect struggle. If you believe yourself confined, that's the reality that snaps into focus around you. This isn't judgment, it's pure, unfiltered echo. It's the reason why some patterns repeat relentlessly, why the same obstacles reappear, albeit with different faces. The identity feed is powerful because it operates largely beneath conscious awareness, a fundamental operating system running in the background. It's why positive affirmations often feel hollow if the deep-seated identity broadcast remains unchanged. You're not battling external forces as much as you are contending with your own internal projector. The world isn't happening to you, it's happening from you, a direct reflection of this identity stream. But how does this constant broadcast manifest as your everyday experience? It does so through the relentless cycle of rendering the loop. Rendering the loop is the inescapable cycle you've felt countless times, That sense of déjà vu, the repetition of familiar challenges, the uncanny feeling of being stuck. It's what happens when your identity feed is stable and unchanging. Reality, responding to this consistent signal, renders the same fundamental patterns again and again. Think of it as a film projector continually playing the same short movie. Each frame may have minor variations, different actors, slightly altered dialogue, but the underlying plot, the core struggle, the ultimate resolution remains identical. You encounter the same financial ceiling, the same relationship dynamic, the same nagging sense of inadequacy. This loop isn't a punishment from some external deity. It's the system working exactly as designed, faithfully recreating the reality that matches your deeply embedded identity. Your subconscious, acting as a master editor, ensures that the storyline aligns perfectly with the narrative you're broadcasting. The discomfort, the frustration you feel when you encounter these loops isn't arbitrary, it's a signal. It's reality itself screaming that the current rendering is stable, albeit undesirable. But what if the very architecture of your perception, these subconscious editors, are creating these persistent forms? This endless repetition is held in place because filters create form. Filters create form describes the indispensable role of your subconscious in shaping what you perceive as real. Your senses don't directly experience reality. They receive raw data. It's your internal filters, built from beliefs, memories, traumas, and expectations, that interpret this data and sculpt it into recognizable forms. Imagine looking through a colored lens. Everything you see takes on that hue. Your subconscious filters are far more complex. They highlight certain aspects, dim others, and completely omit anything that doesn't align with your identity feed. This active process of filtering gives shape and meaning to an otherwise undifferentiated field of potential. These filters are how you translate a vast influx of information into a coherent, navigable world. They decide what's important, what's threatening, what's possible. If your filter says abundance is scarce, then despite evidence to the contrary, your perception will emphasize scarcity. If it says love is hard to find, that will be the prevailing truth of your relational experiences. The difficulty lies in the fact that these filters operate beneath conscious thought, making them powerful and resistant to direct challenge. You don't question the lens through which you see the world, you simply believe what you see. But what if this entire filtering mechanism is what makes effort feel so futile? This brings us to the lie of effort. The lie of effort is the pervasive cultural myth that sheer willpower and grinding struggle are the primary drivers of change. You've been told to push harder, work longer, conquer your resistance. But if reality is constantly rendering based on your internal broadcast, then external effort, without internal alignment, becomes a Sisyphean task. Imagine pushing against a wave while standing on quicksand. The quicksand is your unshifted identity feed, your unexamined filters. The wave is the persistent reality they create. No matter how much force you apply to the wave, you're still sinking because the foundation is unstable. True change isn't about more effort, it's about redirecting the effort to shift the internal parameters. It's about changing the broadcast, not trying to wrestle with the resulting signal. If you broadcast, struggle, and then try to effort your way out of struggle, the system just gets confused, doubling down on the very reality you're trying to escape. This loop of intense effort leading to exhaustion and minimal results isn't a sign of personal failing. It's proof that you're misapplying your energy, fighting the symptom rather than addressing the cause. But how do you even begin to identify these hidden parameters, these invisible filters? The first step involves recognizing the subtle microslips, testing the lens. Microslips are those brief, unsettling moments when your reality feels slightly off-kilter. A flicker of doubt, a momentary disorientation, a sudden insight that briefly challenges a long-held belief. They are tiny cracks in your perceptual lens, offering glimpses of possibilities beyond your current filtered reality. Perhaps you briefly achieve a desired outcome, only for it to swiftly revert. You secure that promotion, then within months, a new challenge arises, mirroring the old. Or you meet someone who feels perfectly aligned, only for them to mysteriously slip away. These aren't random occurrences. They are micro-slips, moments where your filters momentarily falter. These slips are crucial. They demonstrate that your reality isn't as rigidly fixed as you believe. They show that possibilities are constantly pressing against the edges of your perception, searching for an opening. They are reality's gentle whisper, suggesting that what you accept as truth is merely one of many available perspectives. Ignoring these micro-slips allows your ingrained filters to quickly reassert themselves, smoothing over the momentary glitch. It's like a computer system correcting an error without user intervention, forcing your perceived reality back into its familiar, comfortable, yet limiting loop. But what if these very filters, these self-created boundaries, are part of something larger, something profoundly paradoxical about the nature of self? This leads us to the paradox of self. The paradox of self reveals that the very identity you've meticulously constructed, the self you believe yourself to be, is both the architect of your reality and its most significant limitation. You are simultaneously the artist painting the landscape and the frame restricting its view. This self, this collection of beliefs and experiences, provides coherence, but at the cost of infinite potential. You filter reality through yourself, and in doing so, define what self is. This creates a closed loop, where the reality you experience reinforces the identity that created it. It's why breaking out of old patterns feels so difficult. To change your reality, you must change the self that perceives it. But how do you change when your definition of self is reinforced by everything you see? This paradox creates a constant tension. The comfortable familiarity of your current self keeps your world predictable, even if it's undesirable. Stepping outside of it feels like stepping off a cliff, threatening the very structure of your existence. This fear of annihilation, of losing the known self, is a powerful inhibitor. Yet, true manifestation isn't about getting what your current self wants. It's about becoming the self that already has what it desires. And this shift can feel like a death. The universe constantly presents symbols and cracks in the loop that offer a way out of this paradox. Symbols and cracks in the loop are reality's desperate attempts to get your attention, subtle invitations to question the narrative. They aren't random synchronicities or coincidences, they are deliberate glitches, breadcrumbs leading you toward a deeper truth. A recurring number, a phrase heard repeatedly, an unexpected encounter that holds too much meaning to be accidental. These are moments when the underlying code of your reality briefly surfaces. They are not to be dismissed as chance. Instead, they are direct communications, indicating where your current filtered reality is thin, where the illusion is wearing down. These cracks offer a glimpse into the vastness of what lies beyond your current perception. Think of them as small earthquakes, signaling tectonic shifts deep beneath the surface. They're unsettling because they challenge the perceived solidity of your world. They imply that your current story might not be the only story possible. They hint at other timelines, other versions of you, other experiences just waiting to be observed into being. Ignoring these symbols is akin to receiving a coded message and tossing it aside. You remain ensnared in the loop, while the message holds the key to its unraveling. But if your reality is indeed a projection, then a crucial question emerges from the shadows. Who is observing you? Who is observing you is not a question about some external, ethereal being watching your every move. It's a profound inquiry into the nested nature of consciousness itself. If your reality is shaped by your observation, by your identity feed, then what or who is observing the you that is doing the observing? This is where the layers of illusion begin to peel back. The you that identifies with your fears, your struggles, your current circumstances is itself an observed construct. There is a deeper you, a more fundamental awareness that remains untouched, unfiltered. This deeper self is the true observer, capable of shifting its perspective. Your current you is shaped by the filters, an identity forged in the crucible of conditioned beliefs. This you is the actor in the play, deeply invested in the role. But the deeper you is the audience, and crucially, the director, with the power to change the script. The feeling of being stuck, the sense of being unable to pivot, comes from identifying solely with the observed you, the character, not the consciousness behind it. Real change begins when you recognize this distinction. It's when you realize that timeline collapse begins internally. Timeline collapse begins internally. It's not some grand, cataclysmic event unfolding in the external world. It is a deeply personal, often subtle shift within your own perceptive framework. You don't jump timelines by physically relocating. You shift by internally collapsing the probability field of your current reality. This internal collapse happens when your identity feed undergoes a significant, sustained change. When you genuinely shift your core beliefs, your emotional resonance, and your self-perception, the old timeline that was built upon those foundations can no longer sustain itself. It begins to unravel, to collapse into itself. This isn't always comfortable. It can feel like old circumstances or relationships suddenly fall away, not always gracefully. It can manifest as confusion, a brief period of not knowing who you are or where you belong. This disorientation is a sign of the collapse occurring. The old framework is dismantling. The external world, designed to reflect your internal state, must reconfigure to match the new signal. If your internal broadcast changes from scarcity to abundance, the reality of scarcity, which was always just a projection, starts to dissolve. This leads to the profound act of the lens swap. The lens swap is the deliberate, conscious act of exchanging your old, limiting perceptual filters for new ones. It's not about fighting your reality. It's about changing the very instrument through which you perceive it. You are literally trading one narrative for another, choosing a new set of rules for your personal movie screen. This swap isn't a quick fix or a wishful thought. It's an active, daily practice of questioning your assumptions, challenging your ingrained beliefs, and consciously choosing to inhabit a different internal state. It's seeing struggle and deciding to view it as an opportunity for growth. Seeing lack and deciding to perceive potential. When you execute a true lens swap, the world doesn't magically change overnight. Instead, your experience of the world transforms. Suddenly, opportunities you never saw before become clear. Solutions appear where only problems existed. People respond to you differently because your energetic signature has changed. This conscious recalibration of your filters is the core of true manifestation. You stop accepting the film that's been playing and actively put in a new reel, because for too long, you've been watching a story that was never truly yours. The film wasn't yours. The film wasn't yours. That's the ultimate revelation. The narrative you've been living, the struggles you've endured, the limitations you've accepted, were never inherently yours. They were inherited, projected onto you, or unwittingly adopted from collective consciousness, societal conditioning, or familial patterns. You were merely an actor in a play you didn't write, observing a script that wasn't designed for your highest potential. This film, this continuous loop of experience, was a consequence of filters you didn't choose to install. It was a reflection of an identity feed inadvertently set to replay cycles of lack, struggle, or unworthiness. You believed the story because it was playing on your screen, but the projector was set to someone else's preferences. Recognizing this isn't about blame, it's about liberation. It's understanding that the narrative of your perceived reality isn't fixed, isn't etched in stone. It's a projection, and projections can be changed. You have been passive in the face of a hidden power you wielded all along. The responsibility now isn't to bear the weight of what's been, but to consciously choose what will be. You have the ability to cease observing that old film, to unplug the projector, and to start writing your own script, frame by frame, with intention. What will you choose to project now that you know the film wasn't yours? Make sure to subscribe for more videos and hit that notification bell so you never miss a new video. We'll see you in the next one.